Hey guys, welcome to GearHeads. Today we're going to be showing you guys how to shake down the front end and the suspension on, as an example, this Jeep, but this also applies to Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep, obviously. Like this one, they use 4-link front suspension. They have a common thing known as death wobble. A lot of them get that, and there's several causes for it. Luckily for me, at least, this does not have death wobble. It has never done it to me, but I've driven a lot of Jeeps that have had it, and I've driven a couple Dodge trucks that have had it as well. And it is not fun to have, especially if you're on the freeway and you hit a bump and suddenly you feel like the whole car is going to fall apart and you can't barely control the steering wheel. So, aside from that, it's a good thing to check every once in a while anyways. If you're doing your own repairs at home and you're not going to a shop as often getting a full inspection done, who knows when the last time is that somebody actually checked all the suspension components. Even if you don't have any actual bad symptoms, like tires wearing poorly or handling being, bad, or death wobble or other things, hearing clunking noises when you're turning or hitting bumps. Even if you don't have any of that, that doesn't mean there isn't any problems, because this thing actually does not make many noises, and I already know it's got a couple things loose down there that it's going to need. So anyways, the design on this, it's going to differ a little bit depending on the vehicle you're working on, but this is, it is going to be at least mostly applicable and pretty dang similar for a lot of these kinds of vehicles that I mentioned. Like I said, Jeep, Mopar, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler. There's a few other companies and trucks that do similar designs as well that this would apply to. Either way, let's go ahead and start. The first thing you're going to need is a set of jack stands, and then you're going to need a pry bar, preferably a big one. This one is honestly not as big as I'd like to have to use, but we'll make it work.
It's a common problem.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, jerk. Anyways, so a nice large pry bar, and then also this is like just a normal, normal pry bar. If you can get a pry bar that has like a hook on the end of it, those work really well too. It's kind of hard for me to describe, but at work we've got them, and it's got like an adjustable hook on it. I will throw a link in the description, and you guys can find one there. I promise I'll put one down there because you can use this, but that is better. So first thing we got to do is lift the car up, and Matthew hasn't done this yet before either, so he will learn with you guys. So first we got to go ahead and jack the car up. Just since it's a solid front axle, we're just going to jack up the front axle, and you're going to set the suspension, or what? Where are you going? Oh, he's getting the jack. Anyways, you're going to jack the front of the car up, and then you're going to set it down on the jack stands, and the important thing is, do you want the suspension to be loaded when it's resting, and you want the tires to be about 2 inches off the ground or so. Alright, sadly this is a 2-wheel drive Jeep, which you can probably tell because there's no front differential or pumpkin, but this still applies. So go ahead and lift it up, Matt. Just lift it by the axle. Okay, we want to get the tires just a hair further off the ground, a little more. Right about there. And here's the thing is, we could actually be lazy and just check it while it's on the jack, but since it's in the middle, when we're moving stuff, it might want to like rock back and forth. So we're still going to set it on jack stands anyways. And man, look at how much of an oily mess it is under there. Anyways, if you guys have watched our previous videos, I cleaned all that up not too long ago to see how much is leaking and where it's coming from. I guess it's about time for me to put this back on the lift and check. So, alright, so like I said, you want the tires about 2 inches off the ground. Hopefully that's where it'll rest when you set it down. Go ahead. Your side's good, my side's not. Go up a little. Guess I gotta raise my side one more tooth. Okay, set it down. Okay, so first I want to show you guys what we're going to be looking for before we actually start checking. We're going to be checking the ball joints. So here's your lower ball joint down here. Your upper one looks very similar. It's right up there where the shadow's falling from my finger. We're going to be checking those for play. That is a very important part of your suspension. If those things start getting loose and one of them actually breaks on you, your tire or wheel can basically fall off or fall sideways while you're driving. No good. Next thing we're going to check is the tie rod ends. This is our outer tie rod end, and this is hilarious just how much grease is on here. Like I said, I actually cleaned this pretty recently, so that's kind of sad. But disregard the grease. That's the outer tie rod end. And here's your, your steering arm, and the long inner one going over here. Same thing on the other side right there. And then this is your drag link. And this goes up to your steering box. Or, oops, sorry, the upper one here. And this one's your drag link, goes up to your steering box. And there's also the shock absorber, which is your steering stabilizer. And those, the best way to check those is to actually pull them off and see how much movement they get. But I don't feel the need to do that right now. The steering and everything, this thing's fine. So I'm not worried about the steering stabilizer. And then up here, you've got your pitman arm right here. And then this is the drag link going into the pitman arm, which for your steering arm, you can call this a drag link or steering arm. And then here's where the pitman arm attaches to the steering rack. So those are some things we're going to be looking for. And then also, while you're down here, it's going to be a little harder for me to video and show you guys, but it's also worth it to check your control arms. That guy right there is the front of your lower control arm. The upper one is right over there, and then it's the same thing on the other side. You can stick a pry bar in there and try and pry against the axle and see if there's any play in those bushings. I'm not actually concerned about that, so I'm not going to do it now, but I did want to mention it just in case anybody else was looking for it. And then the one other thing, when we get this thing down on the ground, is we're going to be checking out our track bar. So the track bar is what keeps the axle centered on the chassis, because it's got these, it's a solid axle hanging by these springs and hanging by the control arms, but those do not keep it perfectly centered or straight. There's actually, a good amount of play in that left or right, if you don't have something to hold it there. And one more thing I forgot, another tool that you have to have when you do this, or at least really preferably have, is a friend. Because you want one person to be shaking the thing down, or shaking down the wheel, while you, or vice versa, go underneath and check all the components for play. So first thing we're going to do, Matt, is check for the ball joint play, which I showed you how to do. So you're going to slide the pry bar down under the tire like this and lift, Matt. Do you see the tire moving there? Watch this, guys. You can see even without rolling under the car, the tire's moving separately from the rest of the car.
Okay. Feel a pretty good clunk.
Yeah, and you can feel and hear a clunk. You can feel it when you're doing it, but now let's go underneath and look and see. All right, so let's watch this lower ball joint as he lifts the tire like that, and it definitely has play in it. There you go. Do it again. Woo! Yeah, that's not good. There's a pretty good amount of play there. There should be zero play there. They should not move at all. Here, do it again. The top's got the same deal going on. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so that is how you check your ball joints, and I don't need to show you guys the other side. I'll spare you because I can tell you it's exactly the same. I already checked them a little while ago. All right, now go ahead and check the wheel bearing, and the way you're going to do that is grab the top and bottom of the tire and move it in and out against each other. Push them, like when you're pushing on the top, pull on the bottom, and then push on the bottom and pull on the top, back and forth. And it looks actually pretty tight. I felt it before too.
Got nothing.
Feels good. That's good. If the wheel bearing's really bad, it can make it a lot harder actually to check out the rest of the suspension components, because there's so much play in the wheel bearing, you can't see what's wheel bearing and what's what else. So the next thing we're going to do now, and by the way, when you do that, if you are getting movement, it's possible sometimes for the ball joints, if they're really bad, to cause the wheel, it to feel like it needs a wheel bearing. But come down here and see if the wheel itself is moving separately from the hub, and that's how you know you have a bad wheel bearing. And next we're going to check the steering components. So Matt, grab the left and right side of the wheel, and you're going to have to pull and push pretty hard, similar to the wheel bearing except for left to right. So go ahead and pull, back and forth, and maybe a little faster and harder if you can. I know you don't have to go so far, honestly. Oh, did it lock the steering wheel? Yeah, go back here, put the key in the ignition and turn it just like one slot forward, and it should unlock the steering wheel, and then just leave it there. All right, so try it again. You don't have to go so far back and forth, just back and forth really. Yeah, like that's fine. You hear that? I heard something.
For a second,
but it went away. That's weird. So let's go down here and see what we're looking for. So first, we're gonna go ahead and go ahead. You're gonna want to watch this one for play. If it's rotating on a little bit, that's okay. But if it's like moving back and forth, not spinning, that's not okay. Let's go over here and look at this one. Go ahead. Okay, those look okay. This guy actually seems to look okay as well. Now, there's a play up here, I believe. I remember checking this. Go ahead and keep going.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything really bad that's standing out too much. I mean, other than all this oil down here. Who cares about that though, right? Look at that front main seal leak. But let's go ahead and go to the other side, Matt. And we don't need to check the ball joints. I already know that they're just like the ones over there. I already know the wheel bearing's okay. So just come over to this side and shake the wheel just like you were doing that one.
All right.
And then, because you want to do both sides for the steering, because sometimes if you're shaking the wheel from over there, you're not going to see any excess play here. But let's see what we get. Yeah, that one looks okay. All right, and that actually all looks to be pretty okay for now. Cool. So I don't need to be too worried about it. Okay, so let's set the car back down. We at least know what's going on with the suspension components under there. The one more thing we need to check, like I said before, is the track bar. So we need the vehicle on the ground to check that though. All right, have your friend go hop back in the car. Make sure the steering wheel's unlocked, and now we're gonna watch for that track bar. So first I'm gonna look down here, and he's gonna go ahead and shake the wheel left and right, and we're gonna see if we get any play in the track bar, which is like a tiny bit. I don't even know if it would show up on the camera at all. It's just a tiny bit. So that's probably okay for now down here on this bushing. Now let's go up to the top side of the track bar, follow it over, and see if there's any play in this joint here where it attaches. Go ahead. Oh yeah, there is, see? That's moving. Yeah, see that movement up and down like that? There's play there. So this thing's gonna go ahead, we're gonna go ahead and need to put a new track bar on this thing at some point. Go a little farther.
Farther?
If you can, just a little bit. Yeah, there you go, that's more exaggerated now. All right, so one more thing that's worth noting, when your friend does this to check the track bar, check all of your steering components again. Check your tie rods. It's good to check them when you're shaking the wheel back and forth, but also I'm seeing play now that I was not seeing when he was shaking it by hand, because you're getting more force with the steering wheel. Go ahead and keep going, Matt. Yeah, there's some up and down movement in this drag link into the pitman arm here. And is there anything else going on here? I can't tell. It kind of looks like the steering shaft in the gearbox is a little bit loose, but it's hard to tell. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Catch your breath and keep going. That looks okay, but this definitely is going to need to be replaced too. That's an important part. You don't want to lose steering. Okay guys, that's it. I hope you found this helpful. I mean, checking out all of the suspension and steering components is really important to do once in a while. You don't want something breaking on you when you're driving down a windy road, going off a cliff, or on the freeway, crashing into other cars, or all the million ways I can think of that could go horribly wrong if something happened to break. So, I do hope that this helped you guys out. Like I said, we found the ball joints. They're going to need to be replaced. I think most of the tie rod ends were good, except for the, you could call it a tie rod or drag link. The joint that goes into the pitman arm there, that one was bad. And the track bar, which was actually okay down at the bushing, but up on the frame, so on the axle side it was okay, but up on the frame side it was getting some play there. And it's kind of funny because usually, at least from what I've seen, the bushings tend to wear out first and the joints tend to last longer. But either way, now we at least know what this thing needs. So if you guys have any more questions, drop a comment down below. I hope you guys found this helpful. And yeah, anything else? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a great time. It was really easy to learn, and it was a really, really simple procedure to find out, if you have anything wrong with your car, which is great because you don't want to take it to a shop. You can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our videos if you haven't seen our previous ones. And then I think you were gonna drop a link to some tools in the bottom, is that right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna drop a link to the right kind of pry bar that I was talking about because we don't actually have one here. I have one at work, but not here at home. So anyways, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description for that. Was there anything else? I don't think so.
No. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget, keep wrenching.